Have you ever stopped to ask why we really do the things we do? What's the actual driver behind our competition, our teamwork, and even our kindness? The answer is a mental model that might totally change how you see yourself, your team, and your entire business. It's a new way to think about how you lead and collaborate. So let's dive in.
All right, so first things first, we need to clear up a really common and, well, a massive misunderstanding about how evolution actually works. For a long time, we've been told this story about sacrifice for the greater good. But it turns out that story misses the real engine of change. You've heard this story, right? That animals do things for the good of the species. A bee stings an intruder to save the hive. A bird screams a warning to save the flock. It sounds noble, it feels good, but here's the thing. It's not actually how the math of natural selection works.
And this is where things get really interesting. It's a huge shift in perspective. On the one hand, you have the common view that it's all about the group. But the reality is that the game of evolution is played at a much, much smaller level. The fundamental unit, the real player that's trying to survive and make copies, it isn't the group, and it's not even you. It's the gene.
This leads to a pretty mind-bending idea about our own existence. I mean, if the gene is the star of the show, where does that leave us? What are we, exactly? This next idea reframes our entire purpose, at least from a biological point of view.
To really get this, we need to talk about something called a replicator. Picture this. Billions of years ago, in the primordial soup, some molecules just started making copies of themselves. That was their one trick. But that one little trick, well, it was the beginning of literally everything.
And this is what those ancient replicators eventually became, our DNA. Think about it for a second. Your genes are essentially immortal. They are a stream of information that has been passed down, hopping from one body to the next for millions and millions of years.
So what does that make us? Well, here's the big reveal. We're the temporary vehicles. You could say we're the hardware, and our genes are the software. Software that's been iterating for eons. Our bodies, our brains, our instincts, we're just sophisticated survival machines, built to protect that software and get it into the next generation. And think about what that implies. For a gene to have made it this far, to be in you today, it had to be a winner. It had to outcompete all the rival versions of itself, over and over again. This quote just nails it. For a gene to survive, it has to have a kind of ruthless selfishness coded into it.
Okay, I know what you're probably thinking. This all sounds pretty dark, right? If we're just machines programmed by selfish genes, why isn't the world or, your office just a constant brutal fight? How do you explain things like loyalty and teamwork? Let's dig into that.
Yeah, this is the big puzzle. If the basic code is look out for number one, where does altruism come from? Is it just some kind of glitch in the system? Turns out, no. There's a fascinating logic behind it, and it has huge implications for how we build our families, our teams, and our partnerships.
So the first answer is all about family. See, a gene doesn't care which body it's inside. A gene that programs you to help your siblings has a good chance of spreading because there's a 50% chance your sibling has an exact copy of that very same gene. So from the gene's point of view, helping your brother is just another way of helping itself. It's selfishness in disguise.
But what about people we're not related to? Well, that's where the classic, you scratch my back, I'll scratch yours, comes into play. This is the foundation of all successful networking and team building. It's a simple but incredibly powerful strategy. Be nice, but keep track of who's nice back. It creates win-win scenarios that are way better for your genes than just constant conflict.
Now here's where it gets really applicable to business. This whole logic of replication, it doesn't just apply to biology. It's a powerful way to understand how ideas, trends, and strategies spread through our culture.
And this brings us to a new kind of replicator, one that lives in our minds, the meme. And no, I don't just mean a funny picture of a cat. A meme is any unit of culture that spreads, a catchy tune, a fashion trend, or a business strategy. Just like a gene, it hops from mind to mind, and it competes for survival. Just think about it. Why does one marketing campaign go viral while another one flops? Why does a management idea like lean startups spread like wildfire through an industry? It's cultural evolution. The most successful memes, the ideas that are simple, memorable, and easy to share, are the ones that replicate and dominate. Your company's culture is literally a battlefield of competing memes.
So, does this mean we're just puppets, helplessly controlled by our selfish genes and whatever viral ideas are floating around? It might seem that way, but the story doesn't end there. In fact, understanding the system is the very first step to overriding it.
And this, right here, is the most powerful takeaway. We are built as gene machines, but our brains are so advanced we can actually understand our own programming. We can see the pull of selfishness in office politics. We can analyze the business memes trying to win our attention. And because we can understand them, we can choose to defy them. We can consciously build a culture based on generosity and trust, even when our instincts scream for short-term gain. That is our unique superpower.
So let's pull all this together. What are the key things you should really take away from this new way of looking at the world?
First, remember, evolution is driven by selfish genes, not the good of the species. Second, we are the survival machines those genes built. Third, that selfish framework is actually the reason we're kind to family and partners. Fourth, ideas, or memes, evolve and compete in exactly the same way, especially in business. And finally, the most important point of all, by understanding our programming, we gain the power to choose our own path.
If you want to take action, move forward, and find more clients, you can book a free call with CT Marketing using the link below.